Looking at the commodity space, we have been seeing a massive move lower in terms of Brent crude. We've also been seeing a move lower in terms of gold. Now, certainly this is a counter-trend move, and I want to start off by looking at gold because I am certainly bullish gold, but we've been seeing this move lower within the last few hours. You can see here, this is the daily time frame. Now, essentially, the wider move certainly is towards the upside. The weekly time frame shows you that we've got this falling wedge. We saw the bullish breakout from there. Then we've essentially come back to this 1307. Previous resistance there, previous resistance here. We had a swing low as well previously on the 4 hour. You can see we had this swing low in play here around about 1304. So essentially we now look like we've bottomed out from that. We had this essentially wedge or triangle pattern coming into play, and the breakout from that has essentially come towards the upside, which also confirms the wide and medium / long term view that we are in a sort of bullish rally following that wedge breakout at the turn of the year. And as such, I expect further upside. Now, the sell-off that we're seeing so far today, for me, is an opportunity to get long. Certainly the 61.8 at 1327 is interesting. The 76.4, of course, at 1322, even more interesting. Depends on whether it reaches it or not. If we look at the hourly time frame, we can see we're catching a bit of a bid at the moment. So essentially, I am bullish. I would need to break below this 1315 for me to be anything other than bullish. And the move that we're seeing at the moment seems like a retracement of that. And I think that that's just essentially giving us a better price. So yes, we could see some short-term weakness, but I think that we will resume this uptrend. I think that if we take it back to the 4 hour chart, we can see that we clearly have broken out of this triangle, and now we've set a new higher high. We're pulling back, but the likeness is we're about to set a new higher low before we push higher once more for gold. Finally, and probably the biggest and most consistent mover of the week has been Brent crude. We're now in bear territory, and essentially that means that we've wiped 20% off this market. Now you can see that we are in a very continuous and consistent move lower. We've come into this 42.50 mark, finding some support on that. If I take it out to the daily, we can see a wider picture. Essentially, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. Don't try and stand in the way of a train. Don't try and pick bottoms. 42.50, you can see we've got this 200-day SMA, could provide some sort of support, but as I've said time and time again this week, look at the hourly time frame. We continue to create lower highs, lower lows. That essentially gives you clearly defined places to put your stop loss. As long as it keeps not breaking to a new high, then you get another stop loss where it gets adjusted and adjusted and adjusted. And this one, obviously, when it works out like this, it works very well. Now you can see that we are catching a bit of a bid at the moment, but your first port of call here in terms of resistance is 43.37. The most notable swing high is 44.13. So it really depends on your risk appetite. But yes, we are getting a bit of a bid, but as we've seen in the past, that's usually provided us with another opportunity to go short. So this is really steaming lower, and essentially it's about trying to get into the trend if you're not already, and just trying to make sure you get a decent risk to reward. Decent pullbacks give you good, decent risk to rewards as long as you have very clearly defined areas where you want to put your stop. So yes, we could get a bit of a bounce, but the bearish view remains, and it looks like we're probably going to see further losses for Brent crude.